Hi everyone, this is the last chapter in the cells and microorganisms topic. So today we're looking at microorganisms and food. So food spoilage is usually a consequence of yeast, bacteria, and mold. And what they do is they create toxins that can make us sick. So organisms that give rise to disease such as yeast, bacteria, and mold, are called pathogenic or pathogens. And these actions are usually caused by the host, such as myself, either ingesting live microorganisms or by food-borne intoxication. So microbes, when they grow, such as yeast, bacteria, and mold, release toxic waste products as a result. And they can either grow inside of you if you ingest them, or they can grow on the food and then you eat the food. So poisoning usually occurs when you ingest these toxins. So if I were to eat this bread, for example, I would make myself sick um, because this is toxic to me. So food spoilage tends to, well, firstly, we need those optimum bacterial conditions for growth that we talked about last week. So the temperature needs to be right. There also needs to be the presence of moisture. You need to have the optimum pH and you need to have nutrients as well. So a really common form of food spoilage or food poisoning is the toxin that's produced by Staphylococcus. And the reason why this is a very common food poisoning is because it's resistant to quite harsh conditions, which means that it's more likely to be ingested rather than killed during the food preparation and storage process, which we'll go into. So it's really important that if you want to avoid food spoilage and food poisoning, that you take into consideration some hygiene practices to make sure that you look after the areas around which you prepare food. So firstly, sanitation. So if you're cooking in the kitchen, it's a really good idea that you keep the workbenches clean and sanitized by using disinfectant. So if you just wipe them down with a sponge with water, that's actually not going to do anything. It's actually more likely going to make the bacteria grow because you've included moisture in the environment. So you have to use disinfectant because that will kill the bacteria. And it's also really important that you make sure that there's no insects or dirt, or that you don't have cockroaches or mice, for example, because they tend to either transmit microbes or they have microbes on them, which can then get onto your food and can make you sick. So this video actually has what not to do in terms of personal hygiene in the kitchen. So I'll let the video speak for itself.
Because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. I say you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. 4, 5, 6, come on, get your kicks. Now you don't need the money when you look like that, do you, honey? Real black girl, long brown hair. She is so sweet, well, you might say. Let me see you. You know how to make it. You know that fire. Are you gonna be my girl? One, two, three, pin my hand, come on me because you look so fine that I really wanna make you mine. Yeah, you look so fine that I really wanna make you mine. 4, 5, 6, come on, give you kicks. So you don't need money with a face like that. be my girl.
So there were several things that you shouldn't be doing in the kitchen, particularly in terms of personal hygiene. So it's also really important as well that when you are cooking food in the kitchen that you clean your equipment thoroughly and regularly. So all utensils should be cleaned on a regular basis, particularly after you've used them, including your knives, plates, as well as your kitchen surfaces as well. Now, it's also really important when employing good hygiene practices that you store your food appropriately as well. So you shouldn't be doing what this person has done on the right-hand side of the fridge and put in raw meat that's uncovered in the fridge because those any bacteria on there could transfer to other foods. So you should always put things in containers with lids using Glad wrap or Tupperware to make sure that you're not transferring any microbes between raw food and, say, fruit that you're going to eat without washing. So, in terms of hygiene food management, there are four things that you should really just follow to make sure that you don't make yourself sick by giving yourself food poisoning. So, you should make sure that you wash your hands and the surfaces in which you're preparing food regularly, that you also don't cross-contaminate. So, you should never prepare meat on the same chopping board with the same knife that you're planning on making a salad because any microbes in the meat are going to get onto the salad and you're going to cook the meat, which is going to kill most of the bacteria, but you're not going to cook your salad. So any bacteria that gets on that salad could make you sick. It's also important that you cook at proper temperatures as well. So cooking your meat at an appropriate temperature for an appropriate amount of time to make sure it's cooked all the way through will help kill any bacteria that might be on the meat. And it's also really important as well that when you finish cooking that you chill your food appropriately. So don't leave food out on the stove after you've cooked it. You should be putting it in containers and should be putting it in the fridge because if you leave food to cool slowly, it allows that exponential growth of bacteria if there's any bacteria in your food that wasn't killed during the cooking process. So that's why if you ever go to uh, a food market or a food court in a mall and you're looking at that tasty stir fry that's on sale, if it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and it's been sitting there for a couple of hours, it's probably not a good idea to buy that because it's likely that it's been sitting there and there's bacteria growing in it and it could make you sick. So you can also preserve food as well. And the reason why we preserve food is to stop any microorganism growth, but we want to make sure that we don't compromise sensory perception. So sensory perception is the taste, the texture, the smell, and the appearance. So there are several different types of methods for preserving food. There's the more, I guess, traditional types of food preservation like pickling, for example. So you might have grandparents that pickle their own vegetables. Usually it's in a salt or a sugary solution or vinegar solution. And what that does is it changes the pH of the solution, meaning that it inhibits bacterial growth because the pH isn't an optimum pH. But there are many other ways that you can preserve food as well. So you can either choose to boil or steam food, and that tends to kill bacteria and fungi. If milk will go through a pasteurization process where it's treated at 75 degrees for about 15 seconds, and that tends to kill most bacteria. Refrigeration is a way that we preserve food. It slows the metabolism and the growth of the bacteria as long as your fridge is set below 5 degrees. However, it doesn't kill bacteria, it only stops growth. So you still need to go through the cooking process to kill the bacteria. The same can be said for deep freezing as well. It removes moisture and stops growth, but the bacteria can still survive. Drying will actually, so dehydrating, for example, jerky uh, is a drying, a preservation method, and that removes the moisture and it does kill the bacteria. Radiation is another type of food preservation technique, and that destroys the DNA and kills the bacteria, so it can't grow and produce those toxins that we can ingest and make ourselves sick on. Chemical preservatives are probably the most, one of the bigger ways that you can preserve food. So all canned food, for example, has some form of chemical preservative in it, whether it be acids to change the pH, whether it be sugar, whether it be sodium nitrate or salt. All of those will kill the bacteria and stop it from growing. And all canned and jarred food has gone through a commercial sterilization process as well, which kills bacteria, and it's then stored in a sealed container. And that means that nothing can get in or out and no more bacterial growth can occur.